Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome. I haven't done a video in a while, I feel like, at least. And first off, I just wanted to say, if you're still hanging around here with me, thank you so much. There's been lots of things, I feel like, over the past 6 months, let alone almost the past year. And I have been really exploring and kind of figuring out what's my authentic rhythm, which I feel like I'm always asking myself. So really diving into what can I commit to. So with that being said, we're gonna try something new. I've realized that I really actually do enjoy focusing on the planetary transits, and I thought it would be cool to do a fusion of astrology and also pulling some cards, which I guess I kind of did when I used to do the new and full moon videos, but don't think I ever did it with like transit wise. So nonetheless, here we are. I'm recording this for the week of April 29th of 2026 to May 3rd of 2026. And also, this is a really great resource for if you ever want to go. Sorry if you hear, that's Blue. He has a little cough right now. But nonetheless, so if you ever want to kind of go back in time to just see what were the transits like during that time, you can come back to this. So this will be kind of like our little archive that we can resource later. But if you're catching this in present time, well, then let's see, what are these transits speaking to for us in this week as we prepare to close out the month of April, which I can't fully fathom, and prepare to step into May. So there's two larger movements and just like shifts, energetics, if you will. So we'll have the full moon in Scorpio taking place on Friday, and then we're going to have Mercury in Taurus on Saturday. So when we're thinking of how we're working with this week, I feel like everything is kind of building us up to the Scorpio full moon. So if you're not familiar with Scorpio as an energy, Scorpio, to just give some attributes, it really is the sign that brings us back into hopefully the cyclical nature of life, where we really honor this process of death, of transition, of rebirth, and what it means to, excuse me, to allow something to transform, and also what it means to allow for regeneration. So through what already is present. And we'll get to Mercury a little later, but I feel like Mercury in Taurus is happening later in the week. So let's focus on some of the major aspects taking place this week. So I went ahead and wrote them down. So that's what I'm looking at, so I could be a little bit more organized. But one of the big things I think that is supportive to know as we're beginning this week, we are going to be having the moon in opposition to all of the planets in Aries. So the moon will be moving through Libra, and we'll be having the moon opposite Neptune, then Saturn, then Mars, then Mercury, then Chiron. And I actually think that this opposition with all these planets and the moon is supportive for us as we're working up to the full moon. And I do believe that hopefully we've been coming into this awareness of where have we been stuck within our own illusions, and also where have we recognized the structures that have been keeping us held within spaces that are not supportive to what it is that we're really feeling a strong desire to actually move through, grow, and expand through. When we're just thinking of a little bit of Neptune, Saturn, and Mars. And because we still have Mercury in Aries, I do feel like this is very much supportive, even though there's still a lot of heat. That Mercury later in the week which is a planet that speaks to how we communicate. It's our mind or more of our intellect, and how we're sharing and giving information, that it's going to be forming a conjunction with Chiron. And when we're allowing ourselves to continue to move through all of this Aries energy, we really are being invited to reclaim a lot of our own power, and how we're asserting our energy, where we're choosing to place it, who we're choosing to give it to, and how we're choosing to relate with others. So that tension between the moon and all the planets are kind of, I think, agitating some of these aspects of our lives if we still haven't found a digestible balance between self and other, which of course is an ever ongoing process. But just something to keep in mind, that if you've been really noticing this extreme towards only focusing on yourself or only focusing on others, really honoring this dynamic relationship that provides greater balance when both are being honored in coherence. And I actually think one of the things at the beginning of the week that is really also supportive to us, so not only that potential tension or friction we might experience with the opposition of the moon and all the planets in Aries, but we're going to be having essentially this grand trine, this grand air trine taking place in the sky, and it will be with Venus in Gemini, Pluto in Aquarius, and the moon in Libra. And this is taking place on Tuesday, so April 28th. And when we're working with grand trines, or just trines in general, trines are a very supportive, harmonious aspect. It's inviting things to come together, to have forward movement. And I do think that because this is taking place within the air signs, when we're thinking of air speaking towards more of the mind, the communication, the thinking, it being more active, and thinking of this essence of innovation, I think that, and of course these qualities, go underneath different domains or what have you, but trying to just summarize it to make it digestible, that now it's like a continued period of really purifying our mental body. And this being the case in that I love following esoteric astrology as well as traditional astrology. So if we're just looking at an esoteric lens, Aries traditionally looks to Mars, but in esoteric astrology, it will look to Mercury. And Mercury is in Aries right now. And then we have Venus and Uranus in Gemini, which is, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, right? So we kind of have a lot of this like mercurial energy that is inviting us into this space of how are we like working with thought in a conscious way that is inviting us to choose where we're intentionally placing our energy, and who we're choosing to be in connection with. So if there are connections that you make at the beginning of the week, this potentially could be supportive. And there could be, since Uranus just ingressed into Gemini, there might be some unexpected things that can happen in regards to connections, since we do have this little triangular energetic current flowing, if you will. And of course, that's just to name a few things, and it does really matter, like your own chart matters in this dialogue. So of course, keeping that in mind as well, like where are these transits hitting in your own chart? And then for Friday, for the full moon, I really just wanted to highlight that when we do have the full moon, Venus and Gemini will be creating a sextile to Saturn and Aries. So here we have another supportive aspect where this planet that speaks to relationships and values, and our resources, or pleasure, beauty, all those good things. And it's creating this aspect to Saturn in Aries, and Saturn speaking towards structures and also timing. I think timing being very key, that it just feels like there could potentially be this invitation where we get to notice that maybe the timing of things that might not have panned out before, that we're finding a little bit more headway, or we're getting more clarity, so then we can allow ourselves to have more patience to allow things to line up, while also not being overbearing or controlling, but being sure that we're creating these solid foundations, these structures, so that when that thing comes in, there's greater ease and flow. And especially just thinking with our mind, right? Like our thoughts, where are our thoughts at? What do we believe to be true? And are our thoughts working with us or against us? And how can we invite ourselves to form a more conscious relationship with our thoughts at this time, especially since we have so much fire and air energy taking place now, and that energy is very active, right? It's very different than all of the earth and water that we've previously experienced. And just noting that when it comes to all of this, let's say, upward or outward energy, that let's say the things of which we're speaking or taking action on might not take as long, but also really honoring that, we want to really honor what does it mean to have solid structures now. So if something does pick up, that it's actually sustainable. So we don't want that like burnout essence of Aries to take place. And I think I noted this, I'm not sure, but just to kind of reiterate that Chiron and Mercury will be making a conjunction at it's pretty almost exact at the time of the full moon. So like really honoring what's arising, so there can be this intentional cutting away during the releasing phase of the full moon. But of course, before we reach the peak of the full moon, we're really creating the space to honor like how much you've transformed, how much you've allowed yourself to honor your own cyclical nature and honor the season that you're within, and to cross that threshold with intention of like, okay, this is all that I am loving about my life, and I know that these are some things that I want to change, or I know that this is something that I need to let go of. And then once you cross that threshold, there's clarity in that releasing and letting go as we work our way to the Taurus new moon on May 16th. All right. So, and then the last little nugget for our transits, astrology wise, I just wanted to emphasize how, since Uranus just ingressed into Gemini, it's at 0 degrees of Gemini, and the Pleiades star cluster is around this area in Taurus. So, or in Taurus, geez, in Gemini, sorry. So I don't know if you happen to be someone who loves to work with different, let's say, star energies, if you will. But this is a really great time if you do feel like you have a connection to the Pleiades star cluster, to allow yourself to connect with that energy in meditation or in whatever capacity organically calls out to you. I know that when I do self like Reiki sessions, I love calling on my Palladian guides or friends, as I like to say, to support with energetic attunements, because the Pleiades, let's just say energetic blueprint, they are very supportive to healing and supporting with just inviting in more conscious awareness of the energy, especially within the body. At least that's how I've come to connect with them. So that invitation is there if that speaks to you. All right, perfect. So I did want to note the reason I didn't like super deep dive into the full moon in Scorpio. I actually have been recording podcasts for probably like over 6 months now. But I did just rename the podcast. So it's the Contemplative Astrology podcast. So if you ever want to do a bit more, just like honing in on the new and full moons, that is where that content will live. I normally share it through my Substack, and then it does post on, like Apple Podcast or what have you. Okay, so let's pull some cards. Okay, so the first card that came out is the Fool. It's kind of funny. Perfect. Okay, cool. So here, these are the moments where I'm like, dang, I should have did the overhead camera. Okay, so anyways, we have the Fool. And then the Six of Swords came out reversed. And then we got the Eight of Wands. And the Eight of Wands is also actually reversed as well. So the way that I'm seeing this, it's actually quite interesting because, so with the Fool card here, definitely seeing this essence of, it's like surrendering, taking a leaps of faith, right? Kind of flowing, or not, how do I want to say it? It's like falling back into trust of timing of things. And I think that's really important, like honoring the timing of things. And I just keep hearing like patience, like very predominantly, because since here, the Six of Swords, it's in reverse. So normally, like, we would see this lovely person in the boat, like, they're moving away from something, right? And they have, like, some baggage with them, but, you know, it's very light, right? They could only bring with them what could fit on the boat, let's say. But it's in reverse. So here, it's really showing that there might still be something in the mind, as we kind of notated with the astrology, that is asking to be let go of so that there can be forward movement. Because since both of these are reversed, you can't really have action. If we think of Eight of Wands, the Eight of Wands is very, very much quick. It's like we're going, there's this inspiration that things are coming together and it's just forward motion. But here there's a little bit of a delay, and I do feel like it might be a delay in that how much can you allow yourself to trust these new things that you're dreaming into? And even if it's not new, to trust the possibility that, like, what if it can work out? And what would it mean to let go of the ideas, or not the ideas, but like the thoughts of why it won't work out? Because those essentially are taking away the creative spark that can invite in the inspiration for ideas to actually move you forward. So I'm like, I hope that made sense. But let's see if we can pull a few different cards. Maybe it'll start to come through a little bit nicer. And I will note the crystal in the card, it looks like amethyst to me. And then what's on the necklace? I don't know why I thought it was like the Om symbol. So if like chanting is your vibe, I know it's my vibe. Maybe that would be something nice to work with leading up to the new moon. Maybe a mantra to support with letting go or removing obstacles. It kind of makes me think of Ganesh's energy. So Ganesh. So if that is a deity that speaks to you, that might be supportive. Indeed, or even thinking about Hecate as well at the crossroads. Okay, so the moon came out, and here it says satisfy emotional needs, nurture self and others. So with the moon, this kind of is tying me back a little bit to the illusion component that I was speaking to. But I think this is also, I don't think I said this, but the following week we will have, I don't think I put it because I think the aspect goes exact on Monday the 4th, that Mars will be squaring Jupiter in Cancer. So when we're working with squares, these are challenges that are kind of building up. And when we're thinking of like how we're taking action, we're asserting ourselves, we're being more bold, and also like how we're actually needing to be nourished, and are those things working together or against each other? So really being mindful of that this week, especially leading up to the full moon, so that there can be this awareness of what is it that maybe the mind has become so obsessed with that it has been taking away from the enjoyment of just the simple pleasures of life, right? Because when we're working with that full moon, we're working with the zodiac signs of Scorpio and Taurus. So really resourcing that essence of Taurus, if that is something that speaks to you in this. Okay. And then I know, I was like, maybe I shouldn't use the astrology cards because I feel like these are kind of redundant, but maybe nice because we get visuals. But here we got Aquarius, originality, philanthropy, and progressive imaginings. And then air, which air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. So again, this area we're having that trine taking place in, open-mindedness, objectivity, and learning. So here, I actually think that's a really good reminder that when we are thinking of the element of air, this could be, especially since Uranus moved into Gemini, what might you be feeling a pull to actually learn, to expand into, to provide more depth in the information that you already hold and have. And also, how can you invite yourself to be a bit more open-minded, thinking of the Fool card, a bit more trusting in where information might be pulling you towards, so you can be curious, so you can potentially open up to new possibilities, so you're not just staying stuck within the same experience that you've been in, where you're not feeling like your spark is active in life, if that is what you have been feeling. And here with Aquarius coming out, I do feel that it is very important, especially while we're still having so much Aries energy taking place, honoring your own unique viewpoint, your lens, what it is that you have to share, to give, and actually inviting in this confidence, again, back to this Fool card, this trust of allowing yourself to be honest, to speak up, and to share these things that are on your heart. It's really making me think of Leo energy. So yeah. Oh, yeah. And just because it's actually funny, I was going to do another reading and I put all the cards away, but I do think that this was a really good card that came out with the other cards, and it's gut instinct, right? And I think that that's a really good representation of the Fool card, of like knowing in that like timing, like trusting your gut and when it's time to move, so not rushing ahead. So really trusting your intuition, your knowing, your sensing. So that's really nice there. And then we get that lioness, or lion essence. Okay, and then that does deal with the solar plex energy center. So maybe if there has been anything in regards to confidence, or how you're allowing yourself to really trust your senses, your instincts, especially with thinking of the moon. The moon does roll over our instincts, or our habits, or patterns, and also that like subconscious realm. So if there's been something that has been blocking you from trusting your own intuition, your gut instinct, then what is a supportive practice that you have in your toolbox that can allow you to recultivate that trust within yourself? Again, you can, like, here I'm thinking of like if you want to work with like citrine, or I think the amethyst crystal that we talked about earlier is really beautiful. And I think even too, just like remembering the times of like when you have trusted yourself, and allowing that to bring that sensation back into your body. So yeah, indeed. Also, sunstone comes to mind. That's a cool crystal too. Okay, so we also got the third eye chakra here. So during this week, I would say meditation would be really supportive, especially if you're watching this. And this card is a number 9, and I do believe the degree for the Venus-Saturn sextile is not at 9 degrees. So there's this essence of these things that are wanting to come to a close, and now how can we support the building of new connection with other, I don't want to just say other things in our lives, but like, yeah, our relationship to different aspects of our lives. Okay. All right. I think this will be our closing card. And then we got solar plexus. So here we are. So we kind of already talked about the solar plexus. So, but really nice to, also, I was just thinking of, what is it called? Is it like tricata, when you do like the fire gazing, or like candle gazing? But of course you got to be like careful with that depending on your eyes, but that might be something that's supportive to you. And I'm just thinking of like, yeah, working with the colors of yellow or indigo, or whatever color you associate with those energy centers in your body, and just allowing your essence to kind of be renewed in that area, which, you know, when we're thinking of our gut and our gut instinct and our intuition, it is really important that those are in coherence, because then we can understand, based on the intuition that's flowing through, how we can take action that can support us to where it feels more easeful, instead of us just consistently like going against the currents in our lives, which I'm like, you know, I think there are seasons where, you know, sometimes we need those lessons of going against the currents, but sometimes it doesn't have to be that hard. So, but nonetheless, I hope some of those nuggets are supportive to you for this week ahead. And if you have anything that kind of pinged to you, or that you've already been like ruminating on, I'd love to hear it down below. Also, just how are you doing? I would love to hear that down below as well. And if you do want to ever connect more, I do weekly moon day posts on Substack. Those are more like contemplative, reflective, where I'll talk a little bit about astrology, but it's more reflective. And then, like I said, I have the podcast episode that will be coming out, I think on Wednesdays. Wednesday will be when I post that, so you can join Substack to get notified when that comes out if you'd like. And I do offer one-on-one sessions as well. They're alchemizing your transit sessions, and it's really working with these transits in relationship to your own chart, so you can acknowledge what's actually activating something in your life more so than something else might, like, because not all the transits at once are like highly impactful. I think they all have impact, but it's all to different degrees, which I think is nice, because if everything was always like stimulating our chart and our life, that would be extremely exhausting, and life can sometimes already be extremely exhausting. So, indeed. So yeah, so that is to support with making transits a bit more digestible. So, with all that, I do hope that you take care and you stay blessed and you have a nourishing week ahead, a nourishing full moon in Scorpio, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Okay, bye.